There's a lot of uncertainty around how long the pandemic will last, how quickly the economy will be able to recover, and how soon people will return to their pre-COVID activities. I'll share some information CMAP has been collecting on how the pandemic has impacted transportation in our region. Let's start by looking at traffic volumes. Illinois roadways have experienced reduced traffic volumes due to COVID-19 response restrictions. This chart looks at traffic on Wednesdays in March through October of this year, using data from the Illinois Department of Transportation. The yellow line shows all traffic combined, and you can see that the largest decline volumes occurred at the end of March, shortly after the stay-at-home order was in effect. Volumes were down 42% from normal levels. Traffic volumes slowly started rebounding beginning in April and have maintained a fairly consistent level since midsummer. At the end of October, overall traffic was down 10% from pre-COVID levels. Passenger vehicles, shown by the blue line in the chart, have followed a very similar pattern. The orange and gray lines represent commercial vehicle volumes. While they experienced declines in volumes in the spring, they quickly rebounded, and their volumes at the end of October exceeded pre-COVID levels. In fact, single-unit trucks, those generally used for local deliveries, were 16% above pre-COVID volumes. Next, we can see the impact that fewer vehicles have had on travel speeds. This chart shows the system average for the non-tolled interstates in March, May, and October. The vertical axis shows average speeds, and the horizontal axis shows times throughout the day. The light blue line shows the first Wednesday in March, with a pattern we would all expect to see: a drop in average speeds during the morning peak and again in late afternoon, as many people are commuting to and from work. Compare that to the dark blue line showing the average for all Wednesdays in May, where there are no noticeable reductions in average speed during the day. The orange line shows speeds for Wednesdays in October. As you can see, the increased traffic volumes are causing slowdowns once again during the morning and evening commute times. However, speeds during these times are still noticeably higher than before the pandemic. Let's look at the impact less traffic has had on safety. Besides reducing congestion, cutbacks in travel from COVID-19 are also reducing serious injuries from crashes, based on data for the city of Chicago. This shows the cumulative number of serious injuries from March through October and compares data for the same time period for the past 2 years. There are two sets of data on the chart. The green line shows serious injuries from all crashes, while the blue line shows serious injuries for bicyclists and pedestrians. In both cases, the darkest lines show data for 2020, and the lighter shades show data from the 2 previous years. We can see that the number of serious traffic injuries in 2020 hasn't grown as fast as the 2 preceding years in either of these categories. Fatalities from crashes, however, are not showing the same pattern. Overall, traffic fatalities in Chicago, as shown by the green line, are higher this year than the past 2 years. This is true of traffic fatalities for the state of Illinois as well. Injuries this year simply appear to be more serious, which may be due to increased speeding, among other factors. Fatalities have a greater degree of randomness than serious injuries as a whole, which may account for some of the differences that we're seeing. On this chart, we're measuring the average number of daily trips that occurred between February and September. The blue and orange line represents trips made by 2 lower income groups, and gray and yellow represent trips made by the 2 higher income groups. I'd like to highlight a couple of things that are illustrated on this chart. The first is that not all of our residents have been impacted by the pandemic in the same way. You can see that for February to mid-March, the trip patterns are the same for all 4 income groups. Then trips declined for all the groups as the stay-at-home order was announced, but by differing amounts. Once we move past the stay-at-home order, the largest declines are seen for the highest income group, likely reflecting that this group has greater opportunities not only to work from home, but also to shop online for household supplies. In a previous CMAP analysis, CMAP found that essential workers in our region disproportionately live in low-income communities. The trip data mirrors these findings. Looking right after the stay-at-home order went into effect, we see the lowest income group, which is shown in blue, who again are most likely to be essential workers, saw their travel reduced significantly less than the higher income groups. The other thing I'd like to point out is that, consistent with increasing traffic volumes, these data show that daily trips are trending upward for all the income groups. And in fact, the gap between daily trips made by the highest and lowest income groups has narrowed by the end of September, but has not fully reverted to pre-crisis conditions. The final slide looks at the impact on transit system ridership, which has been enormous as social distancing continues. This chart shows data comparing ridership between October 30th of this year and last year. System-wide, ridership is down 69%. The largest impact has been experienced by Metra, whose ridership is down 91%, as downtown commuters largely continue working from home. All providers are still operating service to support essential workers, and they are all following social distancing guidelines to protect both passengers and transit workers. CMAP staff will continue compiling information to track the impacts of COVID-19 on our transportation system. Look for our next update early next year.